And hello, everybody. It is Tom Chenault, and it is the Legacy Leadership Show. We don't have Adrian. He's on assignment down in San Antonio, Texas, with his family down there. So he's not on assignment. He's just goofing around. So the old man is carrying the water as usual. And I have got an unbelievable show for you today. You guys all know Troy Dooly forever, but you also have known Bob Schwartz forever. You just didn't know it. I've known this guy for a long, long time. I haven't seen him live in a long time. I thought he was going to be much older, but he hasn't aged. But it is so exciting to have these guys aboard. And we're going to get started talking about what they're doing as a strategic alliance. And then we'll flip from there into all the drama of the space, because there is a lot of drama in the space. People are just heaving hand grenades at each other, but they're really heaving hand grenades at themselves, because one day they're going, oh man, I'm in this company. And then they find out something. Oh, sheesh, I'm in the next one. And it's a mess. And you got to know yourself, and you got to understand you got a business that you are operating, and you got to act like a leader, not a follower. So we'll talk about that in a minute too. So Troy, what the heck? I thought you were retired, and instead you jumped back in the foxhole with Bobby.
Hey, he gave me an opportunity, and I dusted off the dust and thought, I got one more round. I can make this work.
So how long have you been in the business, Bob?
Well, I published the Home Business Advertiser for 21 years. Jeez. But before that, we knew each other through Cutting Edge Media, and they had 3 magazines that we used to work with together.
Yeah. Man, Troy talks about all of his experience, and he's always trying to get us to read yesterday's newspaper and, see it win the 50-yard dash in 3rd grade and all that jazz that he always reminds us of. But you were there for some of it. Troy was a big deal back then.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, Troy and I were competition for each other. But there was it was more cooperation than competitiveness. So we've always worked with similar people. I think Troy seems to work more with like the Wall Street people. And like he pointed out to me about this new magazine, he said, Bob, I like what you're doing with Main Street entrepreneurs, because that seems to be the folks that I've been working with for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And so what's the focus of the new company? Is it going to be strictly leads? Is it going to be bigger than that? Is it going to be service to everything through newsletters, things like that? Or what are you guys going to do?
Troy, do you want me to go after that one, or do you want to take it?
I want you to nail it, and then I'll come in behind you.
Yeah. So, I mean, the truth is, after 21 years, our postage and printing, people don't read the printed magazine as much as they used to. They're just reading the digital issue. But folks still like to have that tool as a third-party validation tool to say, hey, look we were on the cover of this magazine. There's a 5-page story about us. So what we'd like to do is take that idea, but just make it bigger. We're rebooting and rebranding with a new name called Income Opportunities Magazine. And what I would like to do is just work with Troy and focus more on success stories. Think so much has changed in the last, not just 20 years, but in the last 3 to 5 years, that I have to update Home Business Advertiser to help the advertisers who, a lot of my folks right now are saying, Bobby, how do I get clicks to my landing page? Or how do I get leads? And then they need the magazine almost like a validation tool. But Troy just had so much energy, and he's my mentor. I really look up to this guy like so many other people do. And I reached out to him for help. And I said, Troy, here's where I'm at right now. What do you think I should do? And he prayed about it. And my friend Randy Wolf prayed about it. And they don't know each other. They both came to the same conclusion. And that's what got me so excited, Tom.
So one time I put together a collaboration like this with Troy, with Doug Firebaugh and Jim Gilhouse. And so we put this whole foursome, as it was like quadruplets together.
Yeah.
But by the time it got done, it was triplets, and they had kicked me out of the boat and started this great network and this great show called the Home Based Business Show, or some crazy.
Look, that was Doug. That was Doug who did.
Oh my God! I have never been jettisoned.
We'll just go his way.
Oh, it was awesome. So I feel real good about this thing. I can't wait to watch this unfold. And I truly believe that you guys are the voice of integrity. I think that what you're bringing to the table is going to be good and it's needed. And, you know, inside of kind of what happened at Business for Home with Armand and Garrett and Sylvia, I think you guys just made good much better, don't you?
Well, that's the goal. There are so many stories of just great people that never get heard, you know, because we have a tight community, and I don't think people realize that, but there's just certain names that you hear all the time, and there's companies, there's people that may not have all the money, but when you hear their story about how they went from almost bankruptcy, or their kid was in the hospital, and a few extra dollars made the difference. That's really the stories, Tom, that are here. You've got companies, like I've got a small company that I've been monitoring now for probably 5 years. And this was a single mom. She was raising her daughter. She'd been in an abusive relationship. And now she has this beautiful, small, just an essential oils company. But the little stories that come out of that, of women that have realized, hey, you know what? I am somebody. I can be known. I can make a difference. Those are the stories that got this industry started. Those are the stories that we really need to be focused on. We're always going to have the hiccups along the way. We're always going to have some drama that's in the way. But when you can take those little stories and make a difference in a person's life, that's what it's all about. And people still like print. And that's the key. When somebody gets a magazine in the mail, if they get a postcard in the mail, it's important to them. Heck, we saw what our friend Cody's done just with cards. When people get a card in the mail, it means so much to them. And I'm not negating the digital. We all know digital's here to stay. But there's just something about going into the mailbox and grabbing it. Or your dad or your mom or your sister sees your name on a magazine. It's like now they're telling their neighbors, hey, my son's somebody. I mean, it's better than having the U.S. Marshal show up at your front door like I had. So, you know, having a magazine is a whole lot better, man.
So what's it? And you're doing, is this transition in stage, or did you guys have you already pulled it off and we're off to the races?
I have one more issue of Home Business Advertiser. The closing date on that is June 9th for our July-August issue. And then that'll be the last issue after 21 years. So it's kind of be a farewell or and a launching of the new. Income Opportunities Magazine is the name that we chose. And that will be coming out in September. August 9th will be our deadline to get everything all put all together for the next new issue.
By far the best writer I know on the planet. Novels, and we're not talking Darren Falter. I know him. I know all the writers. But the one that understands this space the better, the best, and the hardest to work with, by the way, is the one and only John Milton Fogg, who is watching this show. But you guys got to get him to do some writing for you, because he's
great.
still up there in Virginia mowing his lawn and thinking about great words to write. And that would be a good thing, because I always enjoy him. I'm trying to get him to write for Business for Home too, because he's just good. He's been in, Upline magazine going back all the way. We can do this. And having your experience, your wisdom, your integrity. How about Aaron Raskin? Was he the one that took a page in your magazine forever?
Oh my gosh, him, Michael Hamburger
too.
Yeah, all those guys. Yeah, I mean, some of them have moved on to different projects, but those are the kind of people that we want to hear from and say, hey, what are you doing now? What do you see happening? And let's report that to the people that are reading the magazine.
They might not admit you made them, but you did. And I will tell Hamburger that to his face, and Aaron too. But please, when you do it, Aaron, don't put it on my Facebook page that you're mad at me. Call me. But anyway, these guys can type. But yeah, it's exciting stuff. And isn't it just nice to be bringing the old back to the new and showing everybody that it isn't about social media and a click and a like and all this jazz. There's got to be real content. There's got to be real relationship, not just leads. All that's important, right?
Well, we're seeing this in just the nano influencer marketing. A lot of the big companies now are saying, hey, we want to go find the niche. Where's that individual that's got just 3,000 or 4,000 people? And I think that's been missing, is people don't understand that it's in the niches where these companies are looking. And that's what we want to provide in the magazine is, look, it's not going to be 150 pages and each page has got a different story. It's going to be meat and potatoes, stuff that people can use. It's going to be success stories that are just the average Main Street entrepreneur out there. And I think that's what people have gotten away from. We get too wrapped up in the news, and we don't know if it's fake news, real news, something in between. You know, we look at Facebook, we look at TikTok, and we see all these people making millions of dollars. And then we go out there and we try to do our thing, and we get 2 or 3 people that like it, you know, and then we get discouraged. Well, if we can show them with the magazine how you can get the best of both worlds, you want the digital that maybe you can send out that link to people, awesome. But if you want something in your hands to where you can talk to the people right there at the cafe that morning when you're eating breakfast, or you're taking it to church, or you're taking it to school, then now we're going back to what this business was about. It's blending every type of vertical in order to make the business grow. And that's what we want to do.
So out there in the world today, we've got the conversations that I listen to every day are so high level, supposedly, where no one even understands what they're even commenting on, about hedge funds and venture capital and public companies and billionaires. But this business wasn't built on those guys. It was built on Joe Lunchbox, dead drunk, laying in the gutter, made good guys like me, you know, that didn't have any other option, nothing other than a chance to dial the phone and maybe get a couple people involved. And I needed to know how to do it. I needed some leads to get going with. And that's what you guys are you're going to help that person not have to try to be comparing themselves to all that terrible noise that is useless, I think.
Yeah, I really want to help the moms and the pops. It doesn't have to be an A-list of people. I want to work with anybody that has that drive. And like, I'm just holding this last issue. We had Engage Global on the cover. The one before that, I think it's Zenzino. And that's the kind of story that I want to have on the cover, but then I also want to have a bunch of stuff inside, like Troy said, that helps the mom and pop entrepreneur, the Main Street entrepreneur, learn how to, you know, grow their business and generate leads and follow up and just all the basics, you know, that we used to talk about 20 years ago. But like you said, Tom, things are so weird and so high level. You know, you talk to these people like, what the heck are you talking about? I have no idea what you just said. I mean, that's what I feel.
That's what happened with me too. And I'm supposedly educated on stuff like that, and I'm lost. So good. And how does somebody get on the list for the pre-launch of this, or what happens now? Do they go to 3leadsaday.com, or do they send you an email or a text message, or how does this all go down?
Yeah, probably just email me at bob@hbapreview.com, bob@hbapreview.com. Or the website right now is homebusinessadvertiser.com, but that'll be completely fixed up and renovated this summer, getting ready for the fall.
Exciting. And if any of you are worried about him going, you know, Troy's got all this crypto money and he's like a billionaire and we're afraid he's going to be moving out of here and gone. I interviewed a little bit Bob at the beginning of the show, and he's got a 22-year-old, but he's also got a 9-year-old that's just bankrupted in gymnastics. So he's going to be working for another 15 years, which gives me great comfort. So good. I'm glad. So let that kid bankrupt you, so you have to keep working, helping us.
Yes, sir.
I was talking to Steve Wallach the other day, and he told me, we were trying to figure out a way to do something, and he told me to run an ad in your magazine. Like, are you still going to have the little opportunity to run ads in the back?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah.
Exciting. So that's pretty funny that they're still, that's a company owner still thinking about a paper magazine running an ad in it. People don't throw the magazine away. It's sitting there next to the bed, and you're going through the back, and in the middle of the night you go, "Sheesh, I think I'm going to call that guy." So all of you should pay serious attention. If these guys are revving it up, you better pay attention, is what I say. Right, Troy?
That's it right there. And Tom, matter of fact, when we get off this, you go ahead and let's get the contract out to you. You can have the whole back page. We'll just have you on the outside back page.
Presented by Nowsite. Yeah, that'll be exciting. So what's going on in the biz, Troy? What are you? I mean, we obviously got iMarkets Live, which is now some name I can't pronounce.
Yeah, I can't either.
The 4 different heads of Modere. You got Justin Prince, who pulled whatever he pulled that day.
Yep.
Created unbelievable disharmony. Then the president left, and that created disharmony. Then they the hedge fund jumped out the window. That created disharmony. And now they're putting everything back together, every different direction. I mean, what are those poor people that were in that company? What are they thinking and what should they do? You and I talked on the phone, and, maybe it's every time a company is, and I talk about this once in a while, when a company goes in and opens up a new market, they open up Taiwan or they open up Hong Kong or something like that, all the lower level and mid-level distributors fly out there and just spend all kinds of money trying to be the first ones in. But the smart money lets those people go do that. They wait a year and then they go in when it's established and all the hiccups are gone. What do you do? I mean, what is your advice to all these poor people that got hit by that hand grenade?
Well, I think in a lot of ways, this is still a people business. There are people that are in here. They got into Modere, they got into iMarkets Live or whatever they call themselves today because of a personality, because they really trusted somebody. They gravitated to that person. Wherever that leader goes, a lot of these people will follow. The rank and file join these companies, not for the big hoopla. They make a little money, but most of them really like the products. So they're going to try to find a product that's as close to the original as they can. Now, Shackley kind of threw another loop in here because Roger went out and bought all the assets, and now he's gonna have these original Modere products. Will he take some of the people? Sure, he will. But I don't know that this is a bad thing. Anytime you have a group and all of a sudden everybody starts to expand, that can benefit the whole profession that we're in. Maybe Justin's company is going to go out there and going to do something good. Maybe our dear friend Brian's new company is going to go out there and do something good. He's got a lot of great personalities over there. Maybe Shackley needs this boost in the arm to bring in a whole fresh bunch of people. I've had people in Shackley commenting on our walls in social media, been there 32 years. It's like, great. Now you need some fresh people. It's kind of like a church. You go into a church, everybody's 60. Well, we better get some young kids in there. The church is going to die. Some of these network marketing companies need that. They need some fresh blood. They need to be able to go out there and do something. Do I like the way all this happened? No, I think this was the most convoluted mess we've seen in a while because it's a bunch of personalities at the top seeming to fight amongst themselves. And with Modere, when you actually look at their setup, there were so many little entities making money off of that. The poor field, man, they had to like quadruple the money to be able to make the hedge fund anything. So this, I think, will give people a fresh start, Tom. It'll give them an idea of what it's out there. Now, will the critics eat it up? Absolutely. We've already seen critics out there wanting to write stories. Here we go again. Network marketing sucks, all that good stuff. But if you haven't been in the trenches to understand the people, to understand how the products get developed a lot of the time, are they the best products in the world? Probably not. But I don't know that we could ever say a product is the best product in the world. We've all got different DNA. So it's all going to be a little bit back and forth. But as long as people find someone that they can trust and believe in, and these companies won't make hellacious claims that don't make any sense, I think this is going to be good. A year from now, people are going to be happy at whatever company they go to, or they'll go back to a different company, just like it's been all the time.
Somebody was telling me almost all of the players in this thing are using BDAs, upfront money to distributors, to drive the enrollment of all those people. And for those people that don't know it, basically it's a little bridge loan to get you going that if you don't perform on, you have to pay back, which is a little bit like the private equity funds, where everybody goes, why did Modere borrow that money? It's because they had to. And as a network marketer, we usually spend all our dough knowing we're never going to go out of business. And then we go out of business and we're broke trying to sell everything to pay the family. And you got to go find a company willing to give you the dough. I've got big opinions on that, I don't care if they do it or not, as long as it's completely and fully disclosed. That's good by me, but it's when it's under the covers and hidden and they're saying they didn't take that money, I have an issue, and they couch it and expense money and all kinds of stuff. But that's all rubbish and smoke and mirrors. I just think we got to have full disclosure and integrity, right, Troy?
You got to have full disclosure, even the regulatory side of it. You can't go out and make a claim, hey, look at all this money I've made in 30 days, and it be outside the compensation plan. If it's going to do that, you have to disclose, hey, I had this. Now, There are some really positive BDAs out there that are driven by production. Hey, if you do this, then we'll give you this. I'm in full agreement with those. I think sometimes when a person's put their brand together somewhere and it's built, and they need somebody to help cover marketing costs to change all that branding, maybe that's a good deal. But just to take money, no one, and I mean, I don't care if it's John Milton to Sarah Robbins, if they built something in another company and they got paid to do that, then you don't pay them for what they've already done. You put something together and say, if you can do it again, then come over here and do it again. I've got one of our friends, and I've been supporting him since clear back in the Pro Step days, Todd Falcone. I've watched Todd without bridge loans build company after company after company and after company. And if that's a proven fact, here's a guy that can go out and build over and over and over again and not prostitute the old downline, then anybody can do that. Brian in the early days did the same thing. There's so many that have proven it can happen if you want to go do the hard work. But if you're looking for an easy way out, if you're looking, hey, if I can just make this money now, it isn't going to work that way. Even in sports, and I'll get off my bandwagon. Bobby, he knows when to get me on my bandwagon. That's why I ask these questions all the time. But it's just like in sports. If I bring a guy in to the Kansas City Chiefs who's played for the Denver Broncos and he doesn't perform, well, there's signing bonuses that get clawed back because he didn't perform. Same thing here. If you're going to give somebody money, there's going to be a clawback in that, because if they don't perform or they go run off and go join another company, they don't deserve the money. If they can build it again, then pay them what they're worth, man. They've proven it already. Let them prove it again.
I took money once, many, many years ago, and that is the understatement of the year. They give you the money, and it was worse than having a job. I was a literal hostage in network marketing, and I strongly recommend that you don't take them if you're going to keep from taking them, because it changes the complexity of the whole deal. And you're telling your downline you're working as hard as they are for nothing, but you really got this big cushion of dough, so you're kind of living a lie. It's just not fun, and that's why I'm so. And let's segue over to the ANMP, which, by the way, the convention is in August, and ANMP2025.com. You can buy 10 tickets for $2,400, or you can buy one for $350. So you can save $1,000 by buying a bunch of them and then middling it. So if anybody wants to buy a ticket for $300, call me. So the name of the game is, I want to have this business have the integrity we're trying to tell people it does. So we lose that stigma of being a bunch of snake oil salesmen and pyramid people. And I think, Bobby, that is something that you've done a great job of doing over the years, is keeping it real and keeping it professional and giving people a chance to make extraordinary income inside of an ordinary resume. And you're just basically telling people to buy the leads and get to work, right? Uh-oh. You might have muted yourself, Bobby. Right there. Did it work?
There we go. Sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, we have leads, clicks, and then the magazine. And the magazine, I mean, we were talking about John Fogg just a little while ago. I worked for Phil Longnecker back in the day when Upline Magazine was really, now those guys were selling subscriptions. They had a different kind of model. What Cutting Edge did is said, hey, we're going to have to sell advertising. Like, to print and mail the magazine, Tom, it's like $25,000 every other month. Yeah. So I have to get sponsors for that magazine. I need a front cover sponsor and a back cover sponsor. And I've got to raise $25,000 before I pay myself to get the magazine out the door, to get it in the mailboxes, to get it online. So I do have to sell a lot of advertising to make this while. And that's, I need help. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I appreciate referrals. We'd be happy to do stories on people. But to be honest, like, the Trump tariffs, we are looking for reciprocal deals. You know what I mean? Where, hey, we can have somebody write articles and raise the level of content. But we also need referrals of networkers or affiliate marketers who need leads, who need clicks, who need traffic, who need follow-up systems, contact management software. So there's a lot of work ahead. I do have 15 more years of work ahead of me, Tom. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, no problem. I haven't even figured out how much college is going to cost that.
Oh, stop.
So it might be a little more than 15 years, but that's good for you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's worth it. And it really is. And shout out to Troy a little bit. I know a lot about his personal life. I have been inside of Troy's personal life with his children for decades. And the absolute commitment that this guy's got to those kids and those grandkids is why I love him so much. You know, I read all the horse manure about his marriage and about Jesus and all that stuff. And, you know, you never know if it's true. But then, true story. I mean, you never know on anybody. But then you start looking under the covers at Troy and the way he lives his life and who he is for those grandkids and their parents. That's where it's all really, really real, Troy. And I just want to thank you for that. And I wasn't minimizing all your writings on relationships or on your spirituality. That wasn't mocking you. I just was trying to point out, I know you as a man behind all that.
Well, I think that's true. We see a lot of stuff on social media and it looks good. People look happy. Everything's great. And all hell's breaking loose on the underneath side. And really it goes back, Tommy, since Zeke Rewards. You know, you ask a question on the radio show, I answered it wrong, I hedged my bet, and it cost me an SEC infraction. And it was a lesson that I learned in 2012 that we've never done since. You know, if it's there in my life, then you can see it. I don't hide it. You know, I don't.
What year was that, Troy? I got to figure out if that was revenge or you got revenge. What year was that?
2012.
2012. Good. Because in 2010, I had a problem. And here's
That's
what
true.
happened. I have a problem that is a big problem. And Troy Dooly, I likened it to the Titanic, and Troy Dooly told everybody that I should have seen the iceberg coming and turned the Titanic. And so that's what he said. And I just couldn't. It was horrible. I mean, I was humiliated, and I go, I couldn't turn the Titanic. I wanted to, and you were correct. I knew the iceberg was there. But then 2 years later, just 2 years later, I got accidentally even when I asked Troy a question on the air, and he answered it just a tad incorrectly, and it was a bad day for Troy. So that was not, I think you probably have thought in the past that was premeditated, and it was not.
Well, the investigator from the SEC said, hey, Tom told me to be on his show this day. He was going to ask this question.
Oh, that is so crazy. But if you, and all of you people, and I sponsored a guy in AA a couple of days ago that had a tremendous amount of money stashed from doing some illicit stuff. And he said, would you be my sponsor? I said, yeah, if you'll make me one promise. And I want to say this to like everybody I know at my advanced age. If you promise not to do anything illegal ever again, you know how to make money. You know how to do this. You don't have to cheat. You don't have to lie. You don't have to steal. We want you to learn to take the high road. And right. I told that kid because in his program, but I really mean it in every area of his life and my life and your life and Bobby's life and everybody's life. Let's be known for our integrity, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the only way to do it. That's what frustrates me when I see these companies in right now. We've seen several of them in the crypto and the Forex space. You know, if these guys would just tell the truth, it may take you a little longer to make the money that you would have made. But if you tell the truth, you do it right. You don't try to hedge your bets. You don't try to beat the system. Mm-hmm. Then you will go out there and you can change your family's life. All three of us have done that. It takes time, but it's worth it.
Yeah. And you know, it's so refreshing to me, Bobby, going back to you, that instead of going and doing something else, a lot of people are jumping out of multi-level marketing right now, and they're headed to the affiliate programs. Lots of people are going to the Amazon stores, and now the Amazon store guy, friend of mine, is now going to the Walmart stores, and I don't have any idea what the hell all that means. But I do know this. I'm doubling down on network marketing. I'm doubling down on getting better at this because the competition's leaving or they're stepping back to watch what's going to happen, which means they're resting, which gives me the chance to get better at what I do and hone my skills of enrollment and teaching people this is not about the product. It's not about the company. It's not about the comp plan, even though all of it has to be great. It's about me being great. Right, Bobby?
Yeah, it makes me think of COVID. I mean, I could not sell leads or advertising to a Melaleuca distributor save my life for 20 years. But after COVID, I could. And I'm not sure why. I mean, was it people got familiar with Zoom and that they were okay recruiting people online with a Zoom call and a phone call? They're probably one of my biggest lead customers right now. And I never was able to work with them before. So I do think there's just been a massive shift. People are willing to do different things. And it's kind of scary, but it's also exciting to see what's going to come. This is the big adventure. We got it. So, yeah.
And what's so cool about it is we got a shot. Troy, I want to shift over a little bit. You talked about clawbacks, and there's some clawbacks coming. I mean, people are looking at these people, you go out and you get in a deal. And Zeke Rewards, I'll never forget that dinner in Las Vegas when I got so mad at Zeke Rewards. You know who was on our show last week was Peter Mingles. And it was hysterical. He was great. He's still out there fighting like crazy for the little guy. He's still out there selling his leads and stuff like that. And he's just going after those anti-MLM folks like it's going out of style. And he's got a bunch of little pirate radio stations all over the place. And, he hasn't given up either. He's like you two, like all of us, we're too dumb to quit. Maybe, I don't know. But it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So,
amen.
Well, I think when you look at the OGs that realize industries will shift, times shift, everything shifts, but at the same time, there's still a good foundation that's there. And if you build off of the foundation, then you will continue to see growth. And even though in my 40 some odd years in this business, I've seen us go from picking up products at a Tupperware warehouse to picking them up from somebody's garage to now the company does all the work for you. At the end of the day, what has stayed consistent is the people. You still have to go talk to people. You still have to go build it. Yeah, companies can try all the omni channels and all of that. But at the end of the day, if you go do the stats, you realize email is still where people talk. Chats are still where people are trying to find the information. They're going to talk to their neighbor and friend to say, hey, do you know about this company? And the more that you can get your brand out there, the more that you're in print, you're in digital, you're on social media, and people see the truth. And when they go look for the truth, they don't see a bunch of people questioning the truth. It's all about truth telling. And if we just tell the truth, look, man, there's some good, bad, and ugly to this. But at the end of the day, you might make an extra $5 or $10. You might find a product that's going to be real beneficial for you and your family. If we can get that message out there to where that Main Street entrepreneur, no matter what they're doing, realizes, okay, I can still live the dream, whether it's in Mexico, Canada, America. I don't care if it's in the Ukraine or Iran. Matter of fact, there's a big group of network marketers in Iran that we can't do business with, but man, they're doing business across the globe in some other areas. If you realize how big it is, you realize that it's a dream that every person in every country has that are just like you and me.
There's a guy out there, Fogg knows a guy named Payam, P-A-Y-A-M, who is one of the largest network marketers over there. And Fogg went and talked to him. Margie Alaprandy went. I chickened out and I didn't go. And that's one of the great regrets of my life because that's an emerging market. These governments, they're fighting with each other one year and they're in love with each other the next. And the name of the game is, I believe, make no enemies. I mean, let them do their business, the governments, the states, the cities, all the people. And you've got one job, everybody. And that's love your team with all of your heart. You don't get paid on your upline. The company pays you. You aren't, it is unbelievably important, especially in this day and age, that you are the leader of your team. Because when that hand grenade hits, What happened? They followed John Melton. They followed Tony. They followed Sarah. They followed Michelle. They said, where are we going to go next? And I've been in a situation like that. And one of the greatest moments of my life was when everybody was calling me saying, what should I do? And another thing that was beautiful about that, and I'm not going to mention names, there were two network marketers that were so much bigger than me and my company. And I actually helped get them placed at companies that were right for them versus my agenda having them be underneath me again at the new company. Just have integrity, you guys. Make the agenda of the person across the table your agenda, and you win, right, boys?
100% of the time.
Yeah, people know that and they feel that. Yeah.
What do you think about, I mean, obviously there are crypto deals out there. I know you work a lot with our buddy Kevin Thompson. What do you think, Troy? Is it getting closer that day when crypto is something and all that stuff that becomes the product and it works out, or is it still going to be smoke and mirrors for a long time to come?
It's never, I don't think you can make the commodity the product. So it's not going to be the coin. It's not going to be the NFT. It's not going to be any of that. You know, now they're trying to make the nodes, you know, and that I question that. But I do think where you will start to really see something happen in the future is when some of the software developers are willing to put the money up to go to the regulators and say, hey, can you guys test my software? Can you make sure that it falls within the guidelines of what's going on? And we know that the large Wall Street firms will do this kind of thing. They just don't go a bunch of trading and do all this. They go through a process. When the companies are willing to go through the process, when the companies are willing to say, look, we're not just going to put the name educator or trader or somebody because he's a personality, you know, we're going to make sure they're licensed. We're going to make sure they know what they're doing. You know, sometimes I see Dave Ramsey and wonder how he stayed out of jail because he gets so excited about certain topics. But when you're doing it with a compensation plan and any little word you say can be an enticement, or you're alluring somebody in, or this has happened to me, maybe Tom, but you're looking at that little light and you realize there's lots of people watching you, and you either say the right thing or you say the wrong thing. Well, you've got to get out of that. You've got to realize that it goes back to what, Tom, you just talked about placing people. Every word out of our mouth has to be truthful. It has to be to help the other person. And if you're willing to do that, I guarantee you the money will follow there. But you have to be willing to do that. And until these companies are, I've got a company that's out of, it's not out of the United States. It's in another country. And I did just a quick due diligence and said, look, here's what I'm going to charge you to do a deep dive in your company. But right now you're not legal. And it's like, well, how do you know I'm not legal? Well, two of your website pages are placeholders. You don't even have any content on them. And you have no KYC or AML. You can't do business in the United States if you don't know your customer. And if they don't want to do it right, then they shouldn't be in the business, because it's potentially millions of people whose lives are at stake. And what I've seen so far that's been consistent with every company that's got hit by the regulators is that these guys will go into a country, they'll entice all of these kids, and then when somebody goes to jail, the company runs away. They don't go to their defense. And I've been interviewed by Bloomberg. I've been interviewed by Newsweek for a big documentary coming out. And this was the reason those companies got into this, is because they saw innocent kids that had no clue what was going on go to jail because these guys lied to them about being legal and it was okay and they could do business. And it's devastating, no matter what country it is, Tom.
Well, I just saw Tony Zalecki's on here.
Good guy, yeah.
I know. The same thing, what happened to him, happened to me. People talking about turning the Titanic. How could you be so stupid not to see this happening, Tony? Well, here's the answer. They lied to me like they lied to you. And all I did was believe their lies. And then when they told me the lie, I told you. So I basically told you their lie. And it's sickening. And I am sorry. But I did not know they were doing that. I would have never put you into something that I also have my children, my mom, my dad, everybody in. And that's kind of, this business is so hard because it's built on your influence. And you've got to take that so seriously, because when something goes bad, your influence was used against you instead of for you. So all you Modera people, just choose wisely, and I'm pretty sick. I'm sick of it.
And I think with Tony and John and those and all Janine, all the people over there, theirs was a little different, Tom, than what you went through in the past, because they had that Justin Prince leave the company. Now Justin's saying one story, but the corporate's saying another story. And now you've got to determine, well, who's right or who's wrong. They're in these stupid lawsuits and everything else, but you've got to do what's right for your team. And this is where you've planted your flag. So you just keep on going, because who do you believe? The guy that left, or the team that's there saying, we're going to look out for you, we're going to do. And I think these guys did the best they could with the information they had at hand. But I do want to throw something in here, though, because you mentioned influence, and I want to go back to the crypto for a minute. Because we are leaders, because we are what our good friend Mel Atwood used to call us gatekeepers.
Good friend. Wait a minute. Good friend?
Well, is he still alive? I haven't seen him in a while.
He's still alive. He's
come on now. We served on the board with him. But here's the deal. The regulators see us as gatekeepers. So when you're putting yourself out there as a professional, as a network marketing professional, maybe you're with the A&MP, maybe you just built your brand that way. I don't care what it is. We can't negate who we are and what we are. And if we don't do our own due diligence, then I guarantee you regulators are going to come back and they're going to say, you should have done your due diligence, because you are an influencer, because you are a gatekeeper, because you are supposed to know. So we can't make excuses either and pretend we're victims sometimes. And sometimes we do. I did. But we can't do that. We have to be out there saying, look, man, I made a mistake, or I didn't see the coming, in your case, Tom. And I did. I was hard on you. Late night, early mornings, it didn't matter. I mean, we had some phone calls that were just, if they'd have publicized them, we'd have both been out of business.
And we've had a couple of fights recently about the influencer conversation, because it's Troy's opinion and maybe Kevin Thompson's, that as a trainer, like a Ray Higdon or an Eric Worre or a Rob Sperry or a Fraser Brooks, if they go in and train for a company that's a bunch of scoundrels, Troy's position is that those guys are culpable for anything that happens after that, because they're part of that deal. I don't agree with that. And we've fought about it, and I pray I'm right, but he's probably right, especially Kevin Thompson. So I just want you guys to understand, and this in your heart of hearts, how much value your influence has, good or bad, and take it dead seriously. And when the companies that can afford you don't need you. And the companies that can't afford you are going to pay you a ton of money to say something that you probably shouldn't say. So it is a slippery, tricky slope, right, Troy?
It's very tricky. And Kevin, after my 2000, because most everybody knows Kevin Thompson's my attorney, corporate and personal.
Mine too.
We do a lot of fun stuff. It's great. But Kevin had me put into my agreements that they could not use my likeness to promote that their company is not a Ponzi or pyramid scheme, because the nuances are usually up to the people in the field. It's how it's marketed. And we've got a good friend of ours, and I talked to him on the phone, and he said, Troy, I'm just like John Maxwell. I just go in and train. But the difference there, and I tried to get this to him, is no, you're a professional. You're the guy or the girl they go to when they need to know how to build a network marketing business. So when you're in a company, regulators are going to say, wait a minute, if you're Mr. or Mrs. Network Marketing Professional, then you should have known what you were doing. And it's the regulators that want to come in here and hone on this. And we've got to be careful. Make sure it's in your agreements. I mean, if you're going to go out here, I don't care. I've done it. I've got clients. Tom would tell you, there's clients where I've been behind the scenes and we've been trying to fix them the whole time. And they didn't get fixed. They went out of business. Okay.
This is how Kevin and Troy get off the hook, because I get all pissed off about this, because Then I find out that Troy's the consultant for the company or Kevin's the attorney for the company. And I call them up and I go, what are you doing? And they go, what, if I wasn't in there to straighten them out, who was going to straighten them out, Tom? So they look at Troy's face. That's what he's doing. And if I go say, okay, well, that's why I went and trained there. You know, he's looking at me like, Tom, no.
Well,
No,
but it's hard because the ones out front are the ones that get hit.
Oh, no
but I
shit.
spent 7 years in an SEC case for a client. Now, he didn't go to prison. It cost him $50 million. He walked away with probably $100 million. Now, here's the sad part. I turned him down on the next job because his words were, I can beat them this time. I know what they're looking for. That's not integrity, okay, whatsoever. You can't do that. If you're going to be with a company or you're going to be with one and they go down and then they want to start a new company and you're going to go over there and you know that what they're going to do is be just what they just did, then we can't say it's not our responsibility. We got to draw a line in the sand somewhere.
So I know that you and Kevin and a lot of people are constantly in conversations and you are trying to get these guys to course correct before they get in trouble. But most of them, and one of those was IML, and you were there. You were pissed off because they wouldn't listen to you and you left. And I was talking to Weisberg and I was running you under the bus a couple of days ago. And he and he was going crazy because he said, if anybody told me to really, really watch the warning signs, and we need people like you, and Kayon, I just saw you. He just went through an unbelievable experience with something that I'm very, very close to. And my heart's out to you, Mr. Mayo. But at the end of the day, all of you really have a great shot here. Choose the people that are leaving tracks that look like they're made of integrity. We're still going to get screwed. We're still going to get waylaid once in a while, but usually there's warning signs if we keep our eyes wide open. But when you have a huge organization, my multi-level marketing machine right now is over 1 million people. So getting, you got to really understand every day that you've got yourself an asset there that you need to protect at all costs and take the high road all the time and don't be a dope, right, Troy?
Yep, that's 100%. Lay the line in the sand. Going back to IML, I'll never forget because I laid that line in the sand. They decided to go across that line, and it was right after my retainer was getting ready to double. And instead I said, I'm out, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And as we see in this case here, the FTC took 6 years building a case, doing depositions, so just figure out where you're at. It isn't about where I'm at, where Bob's at, where Tom's at, where Thompson's at. You figure out what is it that you've got as your guardrails. What are your boundaries?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you stay within those boundaries. Look, I may get on you publicly or privately, but it's your deal. You go where you want to go. Just never lie about it. Tell the truth, stand up, have the ovaries or the balls to do it and just go down that path, but do not play the victim if something goes south. Just suck it up and take.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I see Michael Weininger on here. I just listened. He was in Cheap Trick, and I just saw. My wife was on our car, because I don't listen to music at all, and there was some song on that they sang, and I tried to convince my wife I knew somebody from that band, but she thought I was lying. But at the end of the day, we know some characters, and here's the deal, all of you. You stick around this business long enough, a hand grenade's going to go off very, very close to you. Eric Worre talks about it all the time. Almost every year, there's a black swan that hits the pond and just disrupts everything. And that's where you need your deep relationships, your confidants, the people like Bobby Schwartz, who I love. And what's so astounding is he called me right before the show, and I felt so deeply sad because it came up your name because you've been in my phone for so long, but I've been so arrogant I haven't called you. And I want to apologize to that publicly. But you guys, your relationships are, hey, Michelle, bring me a swag, will you? I forgot to try to sell you something. But at the end of the day, where the hell are they? She's got to go to the next office. But
He's done so well, Tommy. He's got multiple office rooms in his place. You know, we're sitting here trying to get a little desk and make it look professional. He's probably got a whole 3-story building somewhere.
Well, here's the beautiful thing. It's a 2-story building. It's got 8 suites, and because it's such a terrible building, only 5 of them are rented. So I have 3 of them occupied to try to make them look like they're occupied.
They're in demand.
I am gagging here. So if you want to rent an office, it's a pretty nice space. But yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm a big deal. So yeah, Troy, I love you. Bobby, I love you. I can't thank you guys enough for coming on. And as a result, we're going to give each one of you a Love Like Crazy, Then Love More. That's a color probably for you, Bobby. Troy's a little bit more of the pink type, so we're getting nice pink.
Man, you guys like to wrestle with each other.
Man. He knows I've got all those girls at home. Pink, they'll steal that from me, man.
So we're gonna, and so many people want this thing that we do have a special today. NowSite does sponsor the show. So if you go to swag.contactmapping.com, you can be the proud owner of one of these overpriced sweatshirts, and you'll love it. So that's that whole story, and I'm done with that. And go to 3leadsaday.com and pay attention to these guys, because they're leveling it up. And I hope you do find John Milton Fogg. I'm going to send you both his number. Rekindling that relationship. I've done it over the last couple of months here. He's done me some favors that you would not believe. He's got those 4 beautiful children. He's a little bit like you, Bobby. He's out there just swimming for life. So we got to just keep it moving. And Troy, with your 93 grandkids in the whole shot, that's it. Everybody, thank you for watching this show yet one more time. Share it, stream it, do whatever the hell you can with it. We need the exposure. Go to the ANMP 2025.com website, get the date, get registered, buy 10 tickets. And I love you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks,
guys.
She's ending it.